look at all the major corporations that are making a lot of money. So you have to expect the same thing from somebody that you're about to send $30,000. You know what I mean? So I'm not saying that's everyone, but I've heard of multiple scenarios where this has taken place online. I mean, I don't know how many influencers that I've seen. I'm going to post a link to one guy in particular who was a real estate person, scammed people out of $8 million, selling real estate courses. He'd never done real estate. This guy was in Virginia. And then there was another guy who was on YouTube. I think he took 22 million. He got banned from YouTube. So this stuff is so rampant. And I think people are starting to see this now on YouTube, because I read the comments on certain videos that I watch, and people are so annoyed or over these fake influencers online. So if you're watching this, I hope you go back. And if you're not a person that has done your research like some of these other people, or are tired of these, fake influencers, here's a reason why you should start doing your due diligence, because I gave you a scenario with my brother where he got taken advantage of. And he took out a home equity line of credit on his home just to go out and drop 30,000 to be able to get this, because they thought it was going to change his life. And that's what these gurus are supposedly selling online, how to change your life with one swipe. But just basically how to change your life with just, stupid stuff that if you have a business, you know that you're not going to be able to do an Airbnb automation business in, I don't know, this guy was selling like in 60 days, you'll be able to make money from all these Airbnbs without doing anything, which is crazy. But anyway, they try to push the narrative that independent thought is rebellion. So now, because a person chooses to use their brain and critically think, like I just told you, that's being rebellious because you're not following what someone is telling you to do. There's this thing called herd mentality. Majority of the population has that. Humans are just like any other animal. Like, we're tribal by nature. So if you think about birds flying south, it's a bunch of them just flying together, going somewhere. When you think about any animal in the wilderness, they're moving together as a herd. They're going wherever they're going together as a pack. Humans do the same thing, right? So you got to think, if you're choosing to think independently, you're not really being rebellious. You're just being like using common sense and critical thinking, which most people lack nowadays. Is like, that don't really make sense. If someone can just, if I give someone 30 grand and they're going to give me a full blown business in 30 days, that sounds amazing. To me, maybe because I'm doing business, that doesn't really make sense. It takes 12 to 24 to maybe even 36 months before you start even making revenue, unless you're doing some kind of digital product. But anything related to property, 30 days, it's not going to happen. So you just got to use your own intelligence. And now, again, with AI, which is, they say ChatGPT has a 155 IQ. The average human has I think it's like 85 to 105. So why would you ask a person for advice in today's age, especially when it comes to something like this, when you can just plug something in ChatGPT and it gives you the answer in less than 5 minutes? That's what you should be doing. You know what I mean? So it's not being rebellious. It's just, making sure that you're protected, making sure that you're safe and that you're not going to lose money. So if someone tries to come at you for going against the narrative, man, shrug it off, take it for a grain of salt, and do what makes sense for you. And it goes back to my other point is algorithms aren't normal. Algorithms aren't neutral. They're control mechanisms. So again, everyone does the doom scroll. I don't have any social media on my phone because I have been a victim of the doom scroll. I might wake up in the morning, grab my phone, and then I check one video, and then that one video leads to another video, then it leads to another video. Then 45 minutes later, I have laid in my bed and wasted time watching the videos that aren't going to change my life. It probably put me in a bad mood. Have you ever noticed, and this is one thing that we learn in integrative psychology, NLP, you notice how one little incident, whether you stub your toe or you get behind a little bit when you're headed to work and then you hit traffic, one incident in the morning can shape the rest of your day, unless you do a break state and you change the state of mind that you're in, right? Because the first thing you do in the morning generally dictate how the rest of your day is going to go, unless you do something to change your mood. Back to what I just said as an example of running behind. Now you're in a hurry. And now you're frustrated because now you might have hit traffic, and now traffic is going to make you even later. So now you get to work and you upset. Now you might be taking that out on your employees or whatever the case is. You late for school, or you can just see how one little incident can throw off the rest of your day because now you're late. That's going to cascade into other things that are late that you should have been on top of, but you didn't. Or you stubbed your toe and now your toe's bleeding because you kicked it or you cut something, and now you're frustrated and now you're in pain because you stubbed your toe. You can see how it just keeps going, right? I want you to keep that in consideration, that when you click on something, their algorithm is not your friend. It's trying to get you to stay on a platform longer for ad sales, right? It's a revenue-based thing. And that's why it feeds you whatever it feeds you. And if you click on something negative, it's going to give you more negative things because, again, what I just said, we're programmed to want to see the worst in things versus the positive, because it's so much easier to do that part versus trying to make yourself think and be more positive. That's a condition that you have to condition your mind for over time. So in the meantime, change your algorithm, because it's so much easier for you to just watch positive videos, maybe for 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then eventually your feed is going to change to be something more reflective of what your life should be like, versus you being like, oh, look at this person, or I hate this. I just remember talking to a couple people, and when Charlie Kirk died, they watched 1 or 2 videos on that, and then their entire feed was just filled with nothing but Charlie Kirk stuff, right? Same thing, man. You got to change your algorithm. And it's funny because if you're on the internet and you're on social media, this might not even be yours. But like, I talked to a couple of my friends, and their entire algorithm is about relationships. Negative. Oh, they hate, women are this, women are bad, and relationships suck. And then I could talk to 3 or 4 of my other friends, and they don't have any kind of idea that this stuff is going on. They have no idea that people are out here hating relationships, or thinking that all women are bad, or thinking that men are useless. They don't have that. So you can see how my friend is married, and this is what he talks about. He is so upset with women, and he has this whole red pill thing going on because that's his feed, right? And then I talk to other people that my friends that are married. They're like, nah, man, I'm just trying to take care of my family. My kid's going to a private school. They're locked into their relationship. So you can see how it's just manipulating my friend to think that his marriage is sucking, that it's manipulating my friend to feel like his marriage is trash and all women suck, and that he'll never get married again once he gets a divorce. And it's crazy that, so again, you could just see how this can transform your life. People are products of their environment, right? Back in the day when you grew up in the hood, that was what you thought. I remember when I was a kid and we were living on food stamps, I thought the entire world was like that. Before I started traveling, I thought the entire world was racist because I grew up in the South. It wasn't until my parents came to pick me up, and we lived on a military base, and I lived on base, and I was around a bunch of different people, and they were super cool. They didn't hate me. I had my own bed. I wasn't on food stamps. Like, my whole perspective changed. But up until then, my entire life, I was like, everyone out here is struggling just like I am. I went to Spain for the first time, and no one said anything. Everyone loved me in Spain. I'm just like, why was I so scared to leave the country? Because I thought people were going to hate me just like people do in the States, and it's not even the case. So you can see how you need to change your algorithm. You need to change your environment from the environment that you're feeding yourself that's not yours. If you live in a neighborhood, and I've told this before, if you live in Beverly Hills, or the city that I live in, or the area that I live in LA, you're going to go outside and feel like it's Pleasantville. You're not going to think anything. But if you go inside and you're just on the, following the news, you're going to think the whole world is out to get you, or the whole world's coming to an end. That's because you are influencing your own environment through social media. So again, change your algorithm, because if you do that, you might be less angry. And if everyone did it as a collective, then the whole US, or I'm not gonna say the whole world, but the US might have a different outlook, and we might not be headed in the direction of like a civil war. You know what I mean? And the last thing I wanna say is that awareness is freedom. One thing I will point out, when you're on your awakening journey, and that's what I wanna call it, when you're becoming aware, that means you're awakening to the fact that you're in this system. And this system and these things that you were taught as a child in school on what to think is actually not how the world really works. It's not. So, I grew up thinking rich people were bad, or people just hate black people, or they hate people with darker skin. Like, I just had this perception of reality that wasn't real. It was my perception because my environment or the people that were around me told me this. So this is what I was taught. When you come to this world, when you come to this earth, and I tell this story about all the time, when you talk to kids, maybe up until they're 6 or 7 years old, they have no concept of black or white, Asian, Mexican, anything like that. I remember when my son was 5, I asked him what color he was. He said yellow. And then I was talking to him about I mentioned one time about this kid at school who was an Asian kid. I said, the Asian kid. He said, what Asian kid? And I'm like, the kid that you were just at the basketball court with. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, the little Asian, he did not get the concept. It wasn't until maybe he was in the 2nd grade and it was Black History Month. And they started talking about Martin Luther King. And then he came home with this story about being Black. And I won't get into detail about that, but you can just see how he was just blank. So if you think about kids, think about your own kids if you have kids. They're blank. No one knows anything when they come to this earth. Nothing at all. Blank slate. Obviously, you know, as humans, you're going to have certain behaviors that you just do unconsciously. But you don't have a idea about this person being this or this person being that. You don't have it. So if you look at the innocence of a child, that innocence is taken away as they get older. So just think about that. That's what happens. That's what changes. The world didn't change. This baby's perceptions changed because of their environment and the people that were giving them the information on what they needed to go throughout life and believe. They gave them their belief system. So that's what you need to figure out for yourself. What is your belief system? Change what your belief system is, and your life will change because your perception of reality is going to change. Because the thing that most people operate based on how they believe, and their mind is programmed a certain way. So 80% of what we do, probably 90% of what we do is subconscious. Like right now I'm talking to you and I'm breathing. I'm not thinking about breathing. It's just happening subconsciously. My body is working on its own because that's what it does. 10% of what we do, what me talking to you right now, I'm conscious of that. If I get up and walk downstairs to go to my car, to go somewhere, I'm conscious of the fact that I'm getting ready to go somewhere to do something. But if I go to the bathroom, I'm not, it's just happening. If I take a shower, like most of the stuff that you can do, if you think about yourself when you're coming from work, you can be looking at your phone, driving, and then you end up at the house because subconsciously you've done this so many times that your body's able to get you to the destination without you even thinking about it. Once you reprogram your mind and change your perception and change your subconscious mind, your life will start to do that as well. I grew up a certain type of way, and I mentioned it before, growing up in the hood. So I had this perception. All the stuff that I just shared with you right now, that was my perception of the reality. It wasn't until one of my mentors or my pastor at the time gave me a book on what to do and how to change and how to think like a millionaire and change my perception about money, is when I started changing and moving differently, wearing different clothes. For example, back in the day, I would always kind of have like super nice cars, big rims on them, 22-inch rims with a 15 or 20-inch speakers in the trunk. That changed for me. My perception started to change around money. My outfits that I wear started changing. The way that I perceive reality once I left the country and came back, completely different. So now I just moved completely different. My life is different. I live differently. I have multiple houses in different places that I put on Airbnb when I'm not there, or that I go and stay in when I'm in that city. Whatever the case is, like your life will just start to change just based on perception and just based on what your reality is. No one came to me and gave me a bunch of money to do that kind of stuff. It just happened with me changing my perception. And then I was able to go out and raise funds from my business because I came up with the idea. But eventually those funds ran out, and then I had to come up with more ways to generate revenue. No one else ever gave me any more money. I never raised funds from a VC. But you can see what I'm saying. Like my idea and my perception around money changed because my outlook on life changed, because I had different experiences that shaped my new perception and my new idea of what life is. So my belief system changed. I did NLP. Just different things that I did. I read books. I watched podcasts. I listened to YouTube videos. So then it's just my algorithm for life changed, is what I'm saying. So I'm breaking all this stuff down for you because I know that the system is trying to keep us divided. And if we can all come together, that's why I call this channel the Uncensored Collective Media, because we're trying to bring unfiltered things to unite the collective so that we can all get on the same page and somehow turn around our own lives for the direction of where the country's going. So if you're with me on that, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends. I hope you find this video helpful. I hope it opened up your eyes to understand that you're not bad. You're not a bad person. In your neighborhood, or the people that are around you aren't bad people either. They just have a certain perception that was given to them, or They were taught what to think. Different things influence the people that you're around and also influence you. So once you change your own influence by changing your own algorithm, your life is going to come out the way you want it to. So just try that. Try that for a week. Try that for 2 weeks. Change your algorithm and then see if your life changes. And if so, I want you to do 2 things. Leave in the comment 2 things that you want to change, so then someone maybe be able to reach out to you and keep you accountable, or you can reflect back on this video later and see if your life did change based on the 2 things that you left in the comments that you put for the world to see that you wanted to change. So until next time, take care.